You brought up one thing, one specific thing. A missed call, a broken promise, a comment that stung. Something you could have explained in a single sentence. And somehow 20 minutes later, you're defending a decision you made 3 years ago, apologizing for the tone of your voice. And you genuinely can't remember what the conversation was even about anymore. If that's happened to you, I want to say something clearly, right at the start. You didn't lose the thread by accident. You're not bad at communicating. And you're not too much for needing a straight answer. What you experienced has a name. It's called word salad. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why these conversations spiral the way they do. And more importantly, how to stop getting pulled into the spiral yourself. Let's start with what this actually is, underneath the confusing surface. Because on the outside, it just looks like an argument that went badly. In a normal disagreement, even a heated one, both people are still circling the same event. You disagree about what happened or what it meant, but you're still talking about the same thing. Word salad breaks that shared reference point, and it does it on purpose, whether the person doing it is fully aware of that or not. The conversation starts at point A, your actual concern. Within minutes, it's drifted to points B, C, and D, and none of them have anything to do with where you started. An old grievance gets pulled in. Your delivery gets criticised instead of your point. Something completely unrelated from months ago suddenly becomes the real topic. And the further it drifts, the harder it becomes to find your way back to what you actually wanted to say. Here's the part that surprises people. This isn't really about communication at all. It's about exhausting your capacity to track the thread. Your working memory can only hold so much at once. Every new, unrelated point that gets thrown in forces your brain to try to process it, respond to it, and defend against it, all while trying not to lose the original point you came in with. That's genuinely exhausting, in a very literal cognitive sense. It's not that you're weak-minded or easily confused. You're being asked to track 5 conversations simultaneously, while the other person only has to track 1. That's not a fair fight. It was never going to be. Let me paint you a scenario, because I think this will land immediately if you've been through it. You say calmly, "You told me you'd call and you didn't. And I waited." That's it. A factual, reasonable statement. The response comes fast. "Well, you didn't call me back last Tuesday either. And honestly, you've been distant for weeks, and I really don't appreciate you bringing this up right after the day I've had. Especially when you know how hard things have been for me lately." In one breath, 4 new topics just entered the room. An old grievance, a character accusation, a timing complaint, an appeal to their own suffering. If you respond to any single one of them, you've moved further from your original point. If you try to respond to all of them, it's nearly impossible. And if you stay quiet, that silence gets read as agreement with everything that was just said. There are 3 specific mechanisms happening underneath this, and once you can name each one, the whole pattern gets much easier to spot in real time. The first is topic flooding. Multiple unrelated issues get introduced faster than anyone could reasonably respond to them, one at a time. This isn't disorganized thinking, it's a volume strategy. Enough different threads get thrown in at once that the odds are high you'll get tangled trying to address them, and your original issue quietly disappears under the pile. The second is retroactive reframing. This is when the meaning of what you actually said gets subtly rewritten, in real time, inside the same conversation. You said, "I felt hurt when you cancelled." Somehow that becomes, "So you're saying I'm a bad partner," a much bigger, harsher claim you never made. Now you're stuck defending yourself against something you didn't say, while your original, much smaller point has vanished entirely. The third is emotional escalation as a redirect. The moment your logical points get harder to counter, the emotional temperature suddenly rises. Tears, raised voices, visible hurt, or wounded silence. I want to be careful here because this isn't always insincere in the moment. But regardless of intent, obviously, the effect is the same. Your attention shifts away from the original issue and onto managing their emotional state instead. And if you're someone with a strong instinct to soothe conflict rather than escalate it, that's an incredibly easy trap to fall into. Now, I want to pause here because I think this nuance matters more than almost anything else in this video. Not every messy, confusing argument is word salad. 2 tired, stressed people can absolutely talk past each other, bring up unrelated frustrations, and leave a conversation feeling foggy without any manipulation happening at all. That's just what conflict between exhausted humans sometimes looks like. The difference is pattern, not a single bad conversation. If this happens once during a hard week, that's being human. If this happens nearly every time you try to raise something real, if you can predict, almost word for word, how the redirect is going to happen before it happens, that's not an occasional rough patch anymore. That's a structure. So here's what actually helps when you find yourself inside one of these conversations. And I want to be honest with you, none of this is about winning the argument, because winning was never actually available in this format to begin with. The first shift is anchoring to a single sentence before the conversation even starts, if you can. Decide exactly what you want to say in one sentence, and treat that sentence as the only thing you're actually responsible for communicating. I felt hurt when you cancelled without telling me. That's the whole point. Everything added afterward is not yours to chase. The second is the calm redirect, repeated as many times as it takes. When new topics get introduced, and they will be, you return to your anchor sentence. I hear that, but I was talking about the phone call. You don't need to argue against the new topic. You don't need to defend against it. You simply decline to follow it, and you say your original point again in the same tone for as long as it takes. The third is recognizing when a conversation has stopped being productive and ending it without needing a resolution first. I don't think we're going to resolve this right now. We can talk again later. That sentence feels unsatisfying because it doesn't fix anything in the moment, but forcing resolution inside a word salad conversation almost never produces one. It just produces more exhaustion, and usually you're the only one actually trying to reach it. Here's the reality check I want to leave you with. If you walk away from a conversation feeling confused about what it was even about, that confusion is not proof that you communicated poorly. In a lot of cases, it's the clearest sign that the conversation was never designed to reach clarity in the first place. Your nervous system wasn't malfunctioning in that moment. It was responding accurately to a conversation that had no fixed target to land on. If this describes something you've lived through, I'd genuinely like to know. How many separate topics got pulled into the last conversation like this you had? Tell me in the comments. I read everyone, and this community has helped a lot of people feel less alone in exactly this kind of exhausting confusion. And if you haven't already, subscribe. Because next time we're talking about the narcissistic parent and how growing up with one quietly shapes the way you handle conflict, love, and boundaries in every relationship you have as an adult. Often long before you ever realize where the pattern actually started.